Do you find yourself discouraged? Do you feel like you're dismayed? Well, maybe the problem is the direction of your gaze. What if you altered your perspective and looked up? You might just find that you're amazed. So look up. Don't get discouraged. Look up. You'll be encouraged because it's a great day to be alive and it's a great day to grow inside. Hi, welcome to the Look Up Show. I'm your host, Janine Lindquist, and we are ready for episode 1 today. So I just wanted to welcome you and thank you for joining me. This show I designed to educate, encourage, empower, and uplift viewers because the saying goes that hurting people hurt people. And if we don't take the time to really work on ourselves and heal from the inside, we end up going around hurting people around us and even kind of bleeding on the very ones who didn't cause the wound that we might be having. So I really want to use this to strengthen and encourage you, and especially the men viewers that we will have, because men I know are pillars in their families and they don't always know that. Men can often speak identity into the lives of people. So I really want to equip and empower men to be their best self. And that's the goal of this show. So I believe that when we work on our mental health, that we can then, as we work on our mental health, also strengthen our spiritual health, because I believe the two are tied together. So I really want to use this show to not only help you in your mental health and strengthen you and help you heal and grow, but also to strengthen you in your spiritual health. Because another saying is that if we don't learn to forgive, if we don't let go of the wounds of our past and heal from them, it's like we're drinking poison expecting it to kill someone else. Because truly those wounds that we hold on to, that bitterness and anger that can become part of us. And I think I look at unforgiveness almost like a rope that wraps around us and it keeps tightening. If we don't learn to let go and move forward, it really can be that bitter poison that we drink and expecting it to hurt somebody else, but it ends up just truly hurting ourselves. You may have noticed that jingle in the beginning. You may have even noticed it sounded a little familiar. I wrote that jingle inspired by a mentor I had growing up, Mr. Rogers. And I don't know if you remember Mr. Rogers, but for me as a child, Mr. Rogers was a safe place for me. I remember watching that show after school, after some tough days. And I always felt like this person really cares about me. This person really loves me. Like he wants me to be well. He wants to take care of me. He wants to encourage and uplift me. And so when I said yes to this show, I have to admit the thoughts of, are you sure you can do this? What did you just say yes to came into my mind. And I'm a spiritual person myself. So I went to God and I asked him, what do you want this show to be? And he spoke to my heart. And I felt like he said, I want it to be like a Mrs. Rogers for adults. And I kind of chuckled and thought, I don't know if anyone will watch that show. But hearing his voice really resonated with me because, like I said, Mr. Rogers impacted me as a youth. He helped me. He helped me grow. He helped me heal. And so I thought, that's exactly what I want this show to be. So that's why I wrote that little jingle. So now when you hear it, that's what it's all about. Thanks to Mr. Rogers. So as a child, I just remember really searching and wanting to know that value myself. Who am I? What is my worth? So I really want to challenge you today. That's our topic of who am I? What is your value? What is your worth? Because they say like our muscles, when you think of going to the gym, when we challenge our muscles, when we stretch and pull them, they tear. And it's the healing process when they heal that they get stronger. So I really want to challenge us to kind of dig into some of those issues, those tough topics, so that we can get stronger and we can feel more confident in who we are. I'll get us started. Here's a little bit about me. I started out in education. I taught for 7 years, getting my master's in teaching, before really feeling like a tug at my heart that I needed to do something else. So thankfully, I have a very supportive husband. So husbands, support your wives. That's important. He was very supportive, and he said, well, if you feel like you need to resign and look for something else, then do it. So, I was just 7 years into teaching, and I had a lot of those people asking me, like, are you sure you want to do this? But I wasn't sure what else was out there. I took the leap of faith and I resigned. And I remember looking for jobs and thinking, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And a job in drug prevention came out. And I thought maybe that would be where I'm supposed to go. Maybe that's where God is calling me, because my heart kind of leapt again. So I said yes. I said yes to this job in drug prevention, which, it wasn't a boost up pay wise or any of that. It was actually a cut down. But I knew in my heart that this was something I think I really could help more people at than I was in teaching. So it's been 18 years that I've been serving in drug prevention. And even though I don't myself struggle firsthand with addiction and recovery, I am a secondhand person, that I was able to see the pain and the wounds that it caused secondhand in my family and around my friends with addiction. So I always, from little up, I kind of joke that from little up, I feel like I was a prevention specialist at heart, because I was that kid from little up that was always trying to pull people in the right direction, helping them, encouraging them to make good decisions. And that's really the heart of prevention. People that work in the field of prevention, we're trying to educate and encourage and empower people to make good decisions so that treatment doesn't have to be where they have to go. So if we can make good decisions, we don't have to necessarily go down that path that hurts us and hurts those around us and leads us to needing treatment. So that's what I love doing. I love encouraging, and I do a lot of, at least in the past, I did a lot of youth-led prevention retreats, that I would plan these retreats and try to empower and equip young people. And when COVID hit and the world shut down, they kind of paused and didn't know what to do with me. And they said, why don't you try your hand at making some online videos? Because I couldn't do any in-person things in the schools and stuff. So it was one of those moments where, again, my heart leapt and I thought, yeah, I can reach a lot of people. And then the reality set in, kind of like this show. And I thought, what did I say yes to? Can I make online videos? I don't know. But thankfully, again, that supportive husband of mine, he has a background in technology, and he was able to help me through some of the hurdles and, encourage me along the way. And from there, the mental health moments were born. And to date, I have been able to publish over 100 videos with over 1 million views. And it brings me to tears almost just to say that, because I know it's not me. I know it's God, honestly. I knew from the start when I said yes, as he started kind of massaging into my heart little messages to give, that this was his calling on my life. This was something I needed to do. And the one that is viewed the most, that has the most views and continues to grow, is the one I wrote called Look Up. And that was the inspiration of this show. So Look Up tells viewers and reminds viewers that you are not alone in this great big world, that life is more than just about our wants and our needs. It's about giving back to others and giving more to this world, and realizing again that we're not alone, that we can give back. We can do more with this life that we've been given. So I believe that really resonates with viewers, because the Bible says, God says, that we all have a God-shaped void that he's put inside of us. And Pascal even confirmed that in a saying that he had, a quote, that we all have a God-shaped vacuum inside of us that's yearning to know more, yearning for something bigger than ourselves. So I believe that's why that video really took off. And I'm believing that's why I think this show is going to resonate with viewers, is because I think we're all searching, and when we look historically, we are wired to worship. If you look at, ancient ruins, they always had like a center of worship. They worshiped something. So we will all worship innately something. It's just, what are we worshiping? And that's a great question to ask ourselves, to think about, what am I worshiping? And we can look at how we spend our time and our talent, how we spend our money and our resources. And that can kind of line up with what we worship, what's important in our lives. So I challenge you to think about that. What are you worshiping with your life? So, like the mental health moments, the tagline at the end of each one is, now that's something to think about, and here's something to smile about. So, I wanted this show to also always have something to think about and leave you with something to smile about. Because if we can't fill our spirits and have that like uplifting, that cheer, even just the physical smile, being able to smile, it lifts our spirits. And we need to keep lifting our spirits up. We need to keep that hope alive. So for today's topic, again, on the who am I? What's my value? I really want to get us thinking, what is your value? What is your worth in this world? Because I think that's a question we all are struggling with. We all wonder about. Sometimes we push aside and ignore, but it's one that keeps coming up and we need to have that confidence and be able to answer it. So I have a little analogy for you that hopefully will kind of bring that point to life a little bit. So I've got a $20 bill here. Not worth a whole lot anymore, but nonetheless. What would happen if I crumble it up, if I stomped on it, if I got it all dirty? Would you still want it? Sure you would, because its value never changed, even though it went through some tough circumstances. And likewise, I want to challenge you to think about that some of us feel like we're too stained, so to speak, by this world. We've made too many mistakes. We've gone through too much, that our value somehow is less than those around us. But that's not true. I want to challenge you that your value is independent of all of those things. It's independent of our successes, our failures, the choices we've made, both good and bad. Because like this $20 bill, the value stays the same no matter what happens to it. Our value as people stay the same no matter what life throws at us and what we've gone through. We can still feel and remember and know that we are valuable, because I believe it's because we're made in the image of the Creator, of the one who made us. And He doesn't make mistakes. He made us with a purpose, with gifts and talents inside of us. And that's what the value innately comes from. So remembering that you are more than those mistakes that you've made, those choices that you've made, even the accomplishments that you've done, you're more than that. And that can kind of throw us off a little bit because, we want to succeed. We want to accomplish. And that's great. It's great to want to accomplish things and do great things. That's wonderful. But we're more than that. And if we only strive for those accomplishments, it'll still leave us feeling empty. And it reminds me of an interview I heard of a well-known Olympian. And he talks about his struggles with that he worked his entire life trying to achieve these goals. And he did. He won some incredible awards, Olympic medals. But when it was all said and done, he didn't know who he was anymore, because that was his life. And now that part of his life was over, he was struggling with that identity question again. Who am I? And I think that's why it's so important that we tackle that we really feel confident in who we are. And I'm hoping that I can help you by the end of this show to feel a little more confident in who you are. Because like I said, I believe that we were created for greatness by the one who created us, an intelligent designer. And some of you might be thinking, I don't really believe in that God stuff. It's not for me. But I just want to get you thinking about it. So here's another visual for you. I've got this cute little pen. I think we all would agree it's pretty special. I think we all would agree that someone created this, right? They put some thought into it. Didn't just come to be, didn't evolve from one of those cheapy little Bic pens to this thing. It was created. It was designed. It was intentional. And yet somehow I think we kind of separate that when we think of ourselves. And we can't really, some of us wrap our head around that a God or an intelligent designer created us. But our very bodies will tell us otherwise. Think about that for a second. I didn't tell my heart to beat today. I don't tell my lungs to breathe in and out. I don't tell my brain to do all the functions it needs to do. How does it know to do that? How does it know to just do all of those functions? There's not really an answer out there other than someone created us. Someone put some thought into it. Someone designed us with a purpose. And if that is true, and I believe with all my heart that it is, and it's hard to negate that it is, then I want to know more about what this creator, what this designer has to say. And if we even think about our very fingerprints, none of us have the exact same fingerprint. No one before me that was born or after me will have the exact same fingerprint. That's incredible. I can't explain that. That's beyond me. And that just reminds me, like the name of the show, to look up and realize that, life is just bigger than we often make it out to be. We can get so focused that life is just about me and my wants and my needs, and it's small. But when we really expand that and look at how massive the universe is, the sun, the moon, the stars, all of it, it's beyond me. I'm just a tiny, tiny part of all of this, but also an important part in all of this. So I really want to encourage you that when you think about your thumbprint, when you look down and think about your fingerprints, to encourage you that God designed you. He put thought into that. He made you unique and special with a purpose. So, did you know that there's actual online tools that can kind of help us discover what those unique gifts and those unique talents are? If you go and search spiritual gifts or personality traits, you can find a lot of free online quizzes that you can take that will kind of guide and lead to help you understand how are you uniquely made. And I think when we realize that and we start moving in those gifts and talents, we feel more fulfilled in life. And we may not be able to change our career per se, maybe we can, but even if we just start using those gifts and talents in a way to give back to others, we start noticing that this is kind of what I'm good at. This is what I'm wired to do. And that makes a beautiful thing. So we're going to take a short little commercial break now. And while we take this break, take a moment to find some paper, pencil, something to write with. We're going to do a little deeper dive and reflect a little deeper on this when we come back.
Hello, we are the MD and Chef team. I'm nutritional chef Michael, joined by my beautiful wife, Dr. Isabel, medical doctor and suicide survivor.
Yes, I was dropped into the world of mental illness back in 2013, and by the grace of God, I survived suicide. But here's what I learned. We don't have a mental illness issue. That's the downstream event. We're focusing downstream. We should be focusing upstream on our brain health and all the things that we can be doing to support our brain health. Because you see, it's like mopping up the floor when the sink is overflowing instead of turning off the faucet. So come and join us on the MD and Chef Team show.
Come join us.
Hello, my name is Charles Schultz, host of The Edge of Greatness. I hope you choose to join me on a journey into discovering the greatness in your life through the exploration of 7 pillars: purpose, mindset, resilience, discipline, commitment, people, and courage. Hope to see you there.
One week after launching our exclusive sneak peek, NGBN TV was live for 3 days of continuous coverage from Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas.
NGBN TV is live from Las Vegas for Super Bowl 58.
The one-of-a-kind streaming TV network for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s was the conversation for the big game about men's mental health. And the world of athletes, celebrities, and influencers were on notice. But we're just getting started with new partnerships announced like the Team Nike 3-on-3 Championship and new platforms available to download the NGBN TV app. So, what are you waiting for? Download the app today from your favorite streaming device or check us out at ngbn.tv. This is NGBN TV.
I love watching those. Such a great honor to be a part of a network that is striving to empower and equip men and all viewers that decide and choose to watch to just be their best self and reduce suicide rates. I mean, such a powerful thing. So I'm so proud to be part of that network. So welcome back. I just wanted to take a minute now to get you to dive a little deeper into this idea of who am I? So I have a little board back here. I want you to take your paper, your pencil, and draw yourself a circle. This is going to represent your mind. So if you want to put a little body with it, you're welcome to. But what I want you to do on the outside of the circle is take a minute to write down all of those words that you identify with your identity. Maybe they're words that you've spoken over yourself. Maybe they're words that someone has spoken over you. Maybe they're labels that have been given to you. So take a minute and really think about that. What are some of those words that you would identify with your identity? Now, the power lies when we go inside the circle. And this is what I think so many of us don't understand, don't think about, don't realize, is that we get to decide what we take inside of ourselves. So I may have, all of these things that identify me on the outside. People have said things about me. People have said to me that I'm annoying, that I'm too positive, and that can get in your head, right? You start thinking like, maybe I am a little annoying. Maybe I am a little too positive. But I had to decide that, you know what, they can think that. And I was reminded of that hurting people hurt people that I shared with you earlier. A lot of times when people don't like who they are themselves, it's hard for them to like other people, especially people that may be feeling confident or trying to, be positive. It bothers them. It rubs against them. So it's a their issue, not a me issue. And that's where sometimes we can decide, what am I going to take inside myself? So they say our minds are like a mailroom. And if we think about that, it's, we have got thousands of thoughts that come into our mind each day, right? I mean, flooding our minds with thoughts, with images, with, whatever we're watching, whatever we're listening to, all of those things coming through us. But we get to decide, what are we going to do with them? Are we going to hold on to them, or are we going to trash them? So just like that mailroom analogy, that idea that, we can decide, am I going to hold on to this, or am I going to go, nope, not for me. I'm going to let this one go. So that's where that power lies, because we all innately want to be liked. We want to be loved. We want to fit in, right? And sometimes we can feel like we're on this hamster wheel, so to speak, of life, where we're just constantly in this motion, moving along, like trying to fit in, trying to please people, trying to be accepted, trying to make people happy. And it just feels like we're getting nowhere. And I think that's because innately we forget that, just like we tell little children, we're all different. We're all unique. That's okay. We need to be us. We need to be who God made us to be. And not everyone's going to like that. Not everyone's going to be okay with that. But if we can just shine that light that we've been given, it fills us up. So when I started this idea, this journey of this show, I have to be completely transparent. I was in a season, and I still am in a season that's been pretty heavy for me. It's been a lot. And, I said yes because I wanted to make a change. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference in this world. But then world kind of crashed down on me, and life kind of crumbled a little bit in a lot of areas. And I really started thinking like, I don't know, God, I don't think I can do this. And I decided to break away the one day and just go for a walk. And I did a little walk and talk with God. And I was just, pouring out my heart. Like, is this really what you want me to do, God? Because you're going to have to equip me, because I don't know. I don't feel like I can do it. The voices in my head were saying, you can't do this. And I was walking and I was talking and crying out to him. And I looked down, and someone had painted a rock, and it was painted with clouds, and it said, look up. And I had already, that was already going to be the name of the show. And since then, I have seen the words look up and heard the words look up from different pastors I listen to and mentors that I have. And I'm like, man, God is speaking. So I am doing the best I can. And if this feels a little awkward to you, it feels a little awkward to me too. But I'm doing it out of the goodness that I have, that God has put inside of me, to try to encourage all of you, because I know a lot of us are discouraged and we don't feel like we can keep going on and we don't feel good enough. But that's not true. So I really want you to think about, what am I taking inside of me? What am I choosing to believe? And just like when we thought about that intelligent designer, that's what guides my path. I think about, okay, what does God have to say about me? And when you look at the Bible, he has a lot to say about who you are and who he made you to be. So here's a few. He says that you are loved, that you are forgiven, that you are accepted, that you are chosen by him, that you are strong, and that you are unique and set apart. And the two that just blow my mind when I try to really think about that is Psalms 139 and Jeremiah 1, that says, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. I set you apart, and I wrote a book about your life. Again, my tiny human mind cannot wrap around that idea that God formed me with a purpose, that God wrote a book about my life before I was born. Amazing. So I really want to encourage all of you to think about that. When you answer that question of who am I, who does God say that you are? And then who do you say that you are? Do they line up? So I like to be reminded, and I remind myself, that God says, I am a daughter of the King. You are a son of the King. And when I can think about that, it helps me kind of be able to navigate and move through this world. When life throws us a punch, when the world crumbles around us, what keeps me anchored is that reminder that God is with me, that I matter to him. And sometimes it's just all about saying those yeses in your life, being able to just say yes when God calls you for something, like this show, for example. And for me as a small child, I remember looking up at a picture of Jesus hanging on a wall in a Sunday school classroom, and he was holding a little lamb. And I remember looking at him and thinking, he looks so nice. He looks so loving. I wonder if he'll hold me like that. So I asked him. And from that day on, I knew in my heart that he said yes, and that he was holding me and that he was guiding me. So I just started talking to him like I would a father. I started, telling him about my day and my heartaches. And when I messed up, I ran to him and asked for forgiveness. And I knew he forgave me. And I just kept striving to follow after him, to be obedient and listen to what he says. So I have a couple resources I'd like to leave you with. And one is The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. I love his story because he was an atheist. He was an investigative journalist, an award-winning journalist for the Chicago Tribune. And his wife started becoming a Christian, started, going to church and listening and turning her life over to Jesus. And he did not like it. It made him very angry. So he spent 2 years using his investigative journalist skills and really traveling the world, interviewing people and trying to figure out and prove to her that this Bible stuff was just all made up stories. It wasn't real. And what he found was the exact opposite, that it had over 35 authors over the years with thousands of witnesses, and that the disciples of Jesus that followed him their lives were ended based on their beliefs. And he thought, who would get killed over something that they didn't believe to be true? And I just think that's really encouraging. So if you're searching yourself, look that up. He's written many other books that you can check out. And the other one is Max Lucado. He wrote a children's book that brings me to tears every time I read it, called You Are Special. And he's a pastor. And just being able to read that story of how this little wooden boy goes through the town, and he's always getting dots put on him from all the mistakes that he makes. And so he's covered in all these dots. And there's a girl in the town that doesn't have any dots on her. And he says, how come you don't have all these marks put on you? I'm full of marks. And she said, that's because I go to the woodmaker every day. And the woodmaker who made me tells me that I'm special. So when people try to put all these dots on me, they just fall right off. And I think that just brings into what I was trying to bring across to you guys today, is that we get to decide the voices that we listen to and the words that we take inside ourselves. And for me, when I take in the words that God says that I am, it lets all the other stuff of the world start falling off. So I just want to encourage you and challenge you with that. I want to leave you with the privilege, if you would let me, to just pray for you, to encourage you, and leave you then with something to smile about, as I promised. So, Lord, I just thank you. I thank you so much for everyone who tuned in today to listen to this show. I thank you for the words that you gave me to speak to the viewers. Lord, I just pray that it would encourage them, open their eyes and open their ears to really take to heart that you love them, that you created them with a unique purpose. And I pray that you would help them to walk in that truth. And Lord, when the world gets tough, as it does, and the struggles come, I just pray that you would continue to help us to look up and remember that we're not alone in this great big world, that you're there with us, standing beside us, and that you can help guide us. So I thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again in another episode, and enjoy this Something to Smile About. Take care. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Look Up.